Hello everyone. Today we are going to discuss the topic sentence structures, under which we are also going to discuss phrases and clauses. Alright. To start with, let's start with what is a sentence. A sentence, a group of words actually form a sentence. In order for the sentence to make complete meaning, it should have a subject and a predicate. Alright. Okay, now let's look at what a subject and a predicate is. Now subjects and predicates are very common terms which we learned in school while we were learning sentence formation. Alright, so let's come to the first term, subject. A subject tells whom or what the sentence is about. Okay, it tells us about whom or what is the sentence about. The example would be the house, the red car. Okay, so the subject is telling you about the house, the subject is telling you about the car or a great teacher, which I have taken as an example. Now if you look at the next term that I just spoke about is a predicate. Okay, now the complete predicate tells what the subject is or does. Now a subject is about whom or what, and the predicate is something that tells you about the subject. For example, the house is white, the red car is fast, the great teacher likes students. So here the subject is house, and what is the predicate telling you about the house? That it is white. And then the car, what is the subject is a red car, and what is the predicate telling you? That the car is fast. In the same manner, the great teacher is the subject and likes students is the predicate. So a subject and a predicate form a meaningful sentence. Alright, now coming to the next topic. What is a phrase? Words can be grouped together but without a subject or a verb. Okay, now a phrase is a group of words. Yeah, it does not need a subject or a verb. Okay, that is called a phrase. Now because a phrase has neither subject nor verb, it can't form a predicate. This is a structure that must contain a verb, and it tells you something about what the subject is doing, which we learned earlier, right? The predicate tells you what the subject is doing. Now since a phrase does not have a subject or a verb, there is no question about predicate. Okay, there is nothing that can tell you something about the phrase. Now phrases can be very short and they can be quite long as well. So two examples of a phrase: after dinner, waiting for the rain to stop. If you look at these two phrases, guys, they are incomplete. They are not conveying the complete meaning. Okay, after dinner, what happened after dinner? It is incomplete. Waiting for the rain to stop. So what will you do once the rain stops? Again, this is incomplete. So group of words which do not convey complete meaning are categorized as phrases. All right, okay. Now phrases can't be used alone, but you can use them as a part of a sentence where they are used as parts of speech. So as I said, phrases cannot stand alone, which means they cannot convey complete meaning. Alright, but you can use them as a part of a sentence. That is a phrase. Alright, now coming to the next topic, the phrase. Now the phrase is a group of two or more words that work together but don't form a clause. In truth, phrase is a very broad term that we often use as a name for sayings, quotes or other parts of everyday speech. Alright? It is important to know the difference between a phrase and a clause. Now a phrase, as I said, is a group of words which does not have a subject or a verb and cannot stand on its own, which means it cannot convey complete meaning. Now what is a clause? You need to understand the difference between a phrase and a clause. Both the phrase and clauses are actually a group of words, right? Whereas the phrase, which contains a group of words does not convey complete meaning, but a clause conveys complete meaning. So in order to, remember and understand a clause, remember the spelling of the clause. It starts with a C. And when it starts with a C, also connect the word complete. C for complete, C for clause, which means clauses are always complete in meaning. They convey complete meaning. Alright, that is a clause. Fine? Okay. Now, examples of phrases. Now the example of phrases here is once in a blue moon. What happened once in a blue moon? Now once in a blue moon is also an idiom, alright? And then reading a book. Who's reading a book? What is happening after you read the book or during reading that book? To be free, totally delicious food, running water. All these are groups of words which are conveying half the meaning, okay, but are not giving you complete sense. So such groups of words are called phrases. Now if you look at a clause, I'll give you a clear explanation about what a clause is. Clauses are groups of words that have both subject and predicate. If you look at this, this term here, they are a clause contains a subject and a phrase. What does it, subject and a predicate? What does it tell you? That it is a sentence. A sentence, as we learnt earlier, has something called a subject and a predicate. Now a clause also has a subject and a predicate, which means it is a meaningful sentence. Any group of words, okay, which frame a sentence have a subject and a predicate are considered to be meaningful. So clauses are complete in meaning. As I said, remember the word C for complete in a clause. Alright. Now these are about clauses. Fine. Now coming to subordinate clauses. Okay. To give you a very simple explanation about a phrase and a clause, guys. Okay. A clause conveys complete meaning. A phrase does not convey complete meaning. Okay. Now a phrase, in order to complete the meaning, the phrase actually acts as a predicate. It is telling you something about the subject, but it is not giving you clarity. Yeah, because you don't have a subject at all. So here we are talking about another term called subordinate clause. Subordinate clause, like a clause is complete, subordinate clause is not complete in meaning. Okay, subordinate clause actually acts as a predicate in a sentence, right? Now, an example of a subordinate clause is when the man broke into the house. Now, as I said, predicate also does the same thing. Yeah, when the man broke into the house, this is an action that the predicate is talking about the man. Okay, and it is incomplete. So that is actually considered as a subordinate clause. Now, clauses are independent, which means they don't rely on a subordinate clause, whereas subordinate clauses are dependent because they depend on the independent clause. Alright, so this is about clauses. Now going to the next example of clauses. When I get home, dependent or subordinate clause. When I get home, what's going to happen? Okay, and then the lights are not on. The lights are not on. It is very clear in meaning and it can be understood clearly, right? The lights are not on. So you know that there are no lights. Fine. And then when you wake up, what happens? There's nothing following this sentence, right? These group of words. When you wake up, it is a dependent clause. Put it on the shelf. Okay, put it on the shelf. It is an independent clause. Yeah, put it on the shelf. You are understanding it, right? You have something in your hand and your mom or your dad says, put it on the shelf. Isn't it conveying you complete meaning? Okay. And then, since it fell on the floor. Now, since it fell on the floor, what happened next? Incomplete again. So, this is a dependent clause. So, anything that conveys complete meaning is a independent clause, and that which does not convey complete meaning is an independent clause. For example, look at the practice sentences that I have given you here. The table has 4 chairs. The table has 4 chairs. Because we were late for the party, the cat on the front porch. Now if you look at this, the first one, the table has 4 chairs is giving you complete meaning, and so it is considered independent. Because we were late for the party is dependent. Okay, what happened because you were late for the party? You don't know. And then the cat on the front porch. The cat on the front porch does not have a subject. It does not have a verb. It is a phrase. Alright. So this is how we are going to discuss about clauses and phrases. Now coming to independent clause. Now independent clause contains a subject. Alright. And it also contains a predicate. Yeah. So here independent clauses, as I said, are not dependent on something else to follow. They convey complete meaning. They are independent. They are free. They don't have to rely or depend on something. So they are called independent clauses. Independent clauses convey complete meaning because they have a subject, a verb and a object or a subject and a predicate. That's about independent clauses. Now coming to the other example of dependent clauses. As I already mentioned to you, dependent clauses depend on a few more words, in the beginning or at the end of a clause. So they are actually dependent. They cannot stand on its own. The words that are formed, they are conveying you half the meaning, but they are not giving you complete meaning. All right. So they are dependent clauses. All right. Okay. Now what I would like to tell you is just to sum up what we discussed. We spoke about a sentence first. A sentence is a group of words which contain a subject and a predicate. Now what is a subject? A subject is what or whom is the sentence talking about. We were speaking about the house. That is a subject. Alright. And the predicate is the house is white. So the predicate is telling you about the what of the subject. Alright. So it is telling you about the house, that the house is white. That was about subject and predicate. Then we went to phrase. A phrase is a group of words which does not have a subject or a verb. It's just a group of words. It's conveying some meaning but not complete meaning. Alright. And then coming to a clause. As I said, remember the C for clause and the C for complete. When you call something a clause, it is considered to be complete, which means it can stand alone, it can convey complete meaning. That is a clause. Now we looked at another two aspects of sentences, which are independent clauses and dependent clauses. The word independent is telling you that it is free, it is independent, which means it can stand on its own, it is not dependent, right? So independent clauses convey complete meaning. Whereas dependent clauses, are also called subordinate clauses. Now dependent, the word dependent is telling you that it is dependent on a few more words in the beginning or at the end. So dependent clauses are subordinate clauses which do not convey complete meaning. They are dependent on a few more group of words to complete or to have a complete sense in the sentence. Alright. So this is about dependent clauses. So I hope I have made myself understood. In case you have any queries, please get back to me. You can call me or you can ping me on WhatsApp. Thank you very much. God bless.